A funny and amusing dichotomy. Adults are, of course, more well-built, more physically developed than our children, and you would think that feature should also equate with a mind of fortitude and resolve. But children, or the physically immature and developing beings, actually consistently exhibit the mind of resolve, while this kind of mind is not a certainty in the physically developed or physically mature adult human. A reality of ironic dichotomies is our reality indeed. No other religion's scriptures speak to this reality as it is as often as those of Hinduism or Hindu mythology. And this is probably why the ancient Indian writer of the Hindu tale I'm going to tell you today has a boy as the hard-headed protagonist rather than an adult man or woman. The worst feeling you can ever experience as an individual self, as the individual spirit that you are, is the feeling that dawns on you when you realize you gave up on something that could have been worked out or could have been yours. Have you ever seen a child crying and flipping out, visibly upset, while holding his or her mom or dad's hand out in public? I've seen this every now and then when I'm out shopping. Some kid clearly didn't get something he or she wanted, or is being dragged to a place he or she doesn't want to go, and is crying, dragging the feet, and the parents all stressed out because the kid just won't give up. Have you noticed how strongly children refuse to give up? They display this kind of tenacity that, quite frankly, we as adults become more prone to abandoning due to the demands of adult life. That sinking feeling of disappointment that I mentioned a minute ago is itself the signal that giving up was not the right answer. Today I'm going to tell you a tale from one of the Upanishads, a Hindu scripture from around 500 BCE or BC. It's one in which a child is undeterred by authority. He doesn't give up on getting what he wants, and in doing so, he teaches us all in quite an illuminating fashion that the blame for giving up always lies within the one who did give up. Why? Well, the only thing that kept this boy from giving up on his desire or need in this Hindu myth was himself. Only he made the difference. So he's really going to demonstrate some interesting lessons to us in really an illuminating fashion. He is the illumination of the lesson itself in this story. Even he radiates the lesson. In a world as irrational as ours is currently, yes, it's easy to blame the quote-unquote system or family we were born into or the troubling circumstances of a specific situation, for why we gave up on something. But at the end of the day, no matter which way you cut it, the blame for giving up always lies within the one who did give up. The principle of self-responsibility that I discuss in great detail in my book, What is God Good For? Evil, karma, sin, and suffering, correctly explained finally, is really personified very well by this boy in this Indian myth. Today's Hindu tale is the myth of the boy who is actually known as the first significant seeker in Hindu mythology. He gets to have that title only because he doesn't give up on winning big at the end. He wins something very useful and powerful. It is what helps the human understand how to master the world, according to my book, Who God Really Is. You should definitely check out all of my books on Amazon.com. A young boy in ancient India named Nachiketa is the son of a sage named Vajashravas. Vajashravas is a respected but somewhat flawed character. He's known for performing big Vedic sacrifices, think elaborate rituals involving offerings to the gods to rack up spiritual merit. But here's the catch. He's got a bit of an ego and a stingy streak. One day, Vajashravas decides to perform a grand sacrifice called the Vishvajit. which is supposed to involve giving away all of his possessions to achieve spiritual liberation or divine favor. Sounds noble, right? Except when it comes time to actually part with his stuff, Vajashravas gets, let's say, selective. Instead of giving away his prime cattle, he donates the old, scrawny cows that are basically useless to at least the farmers of his time. You know, the ones that have drunk their last water, eaten their last grass, and given their last milk. Basically, he's trying to game the quote-unquote Vedic ritualistic system, offering the spiritual equivalent of pocket lint. Young Nachiketa, who's watching this whole spectacle, isn't impressed. He's a sharp kid, deeply thoughtful and principled, with a keen sense of dharma, or duty and righteousness. He's very dutiful. He knows his dad is cutting corners, and it bugs him. In the Vedic tradition, the quality of the offering matters. A half-hearted gift insults the gods and undermines the whole point of the sacrifice. If you want the best back from God, you've got to offer at least something respectable. Nachiketa, being the bold and slightly cheeky kid he is, decides to call his dad out, but in a way that's both clever and provocative. Nachiketa approaches his father, Vajashravas, and with a mix of innocence and sharpness asks the sage, "Father, to whom will you give me?" It's a loaded question. It's about sacrifice of himself. On one hand, he's pointing out the hypocrisy. If Vajashravas is supposed to give away everything, that includes his son, right? On the other hand, he's testing his father's commitment to the ritual spirit. Nachiketa's not just being a smart aleck. He's exposing the flaw in his father's dharma. Vajashravas, already stressed from organizing this massive ritual and probably annoyed at being questioned like this by his son, brushes it off at first. But Nachiketa doesn't let up. He asks again, and then a third time, pushing his father's buttons. Finally, Vajashravas snaps, and in a fit of irritation blurts out, "I give you to death." Oof! Not exactly Father of the Year material. No, no, no. Now, in ancient India, words spoken during a ritual carry weight, like cosmic level weight. Cursing your kid to death, or Yama, the god of death, isn't something you can just take back with a, "My bad, I'm sorry." Nachiketa, instead of freaking out though, takes it in stride. He's like, "All right, if that's how it's gonna be, I'll go meet death himself." This kid's got guts, let me tell you. He's open to the near-death experience. Before he leaves, Nachiketa reflects on his life and duty. In the Upanishad, he muses about the fleeting nature of life, comparing humans to crops that grow and perish. He's not afraid of death. He's curious about it. What lies beyond? He really wants to know. So with a mix of resolve and youthful idealism, Nachiketa sets off for the abode of Yama, the god of death. If you are enjoying this podcast, please leave a rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen. Share it with a friend as well. It'll help keep these stories alive. Getting to Yama's palace isn't like catching an Uber. It's a mystical journey, likely involving meditation or a spiritual crossing into the realm of death. When Nachiketa arrives at Yama's abode, he finds out the guy's not home. This god is not home. Death's out doing, well, deathly stuff. Nachiketa, being the polite and patient kid he is, waits outside Yama's palace for 3 days and 3 nights without food or water. That's some serious dedication to finding out truth. When Yama finally returns, his attendants inform him that a Brahmin boy has been waiting at his doorstep. In Vedic culture, hospitality to guests, especially Brahmins, is a big deal. It's really a big deal. Yama's a bit embarrassed that he's kept Nachiketa waiting. Bad form for a god. To make up for it, Yama offers Nachiketa 3 boons, one for each night he waited. This is where the story gets juicy because Nachiketa is about to make some bold requests. He's going to take advantage of the opportunity he's just been given. For his first boon, Nachiketa keeps it simple and sweet. He asks for his father to be freed from anger and to welcome him back with love when he returns home. He wants to be welcomed back with love when he comes out of this near-death experience. He's not holding a grudge against his father for the whole, I curse you to death, I give you to death outburst. He just wants to be, he wants to arrive out of this near-death experience back to earth in peace and to be accepted and welcomed by his father in love. He wants peace, he wants peace in the family. So Nachiketa says, may my father, Vajashravas, be calm, happy, and free from resentment toward me. Yama's like, done, fine. Your dad will be chill and he'll be thrilled to see you when you get back. This boon shows Nachiketa's compassion and maturity. He's not just thinking about himself, but about healing the rift with his father. It's a small but grounding moment before the story takes a metaphysical turn. For his second boon, Nachiketa gets a bit more ambitious with Yama. He asks the god of death to teach him about the Nachiketa Agni, the fire sacrifice that will be later named after him in the story, a powerful Vedic ritual that leads to heavenly realms and spiritual liberation. This isn't just any ritual, it's a complex symbolic fire sacrifice that's believed to grant the performer access to celestial worlds or even immortality in the Vedic sense. Not physical immortality, but a state of eternal bliss in higher realms. Yama's impressed by the request but not surprised. He explains the ritual in detail, how to build the fire altar, the specific mantras to chant, and the symbolic meaning of the flames. He's so pleased with Nachiketa's insight that he names the ritual after him, ensuring Nachiketa's legacy in Vedic tradition. Yama grants the boon and says this fire sacrifice will be known as the Nachiketa Agni, and those who perform it with faith will attain great spiritual rewards. This part of the story highlights Nachiketa's connection to Vedic wisdom. He's not just a curious kid, he's someone who understands the deeper purpose of rituals and wants to use them for spiritual growth, or at least he understands to begin with that these rituals have some real depth to them and some real kind of spiritual gold to be gained. And it's not just about worldly gain. Like more money, bigger home, a new brother or sister, right? My business taking off. Nachiketa realizes that these rituals of what was then Vedic tradition, not exactly called Hinduism at that time, he realizes that these rituals have some spiritual gold that can be gained from them. That is more worthy, or actually it's more valuable, because once you have that spiritual gold, you can use it to actually attain worldly gains. You will know how to master the world, or you will know the way to the world, as I explain in my book, Who God Really Is. For his third boon, Nachiketa goes straight for the big question: what happens after death? He asks Yama, some say that after death a person continues to exist, others say he does not. There's doubt about this. Tell me the truth, Yama, Lord Yama, what's the deal with death? This is a massive question, one that's puzzled humans for millennia. Nachiketa's not asking for a vague platitude. He wants the ultimate truth about existence, the soul, and what lies beyond the grave. Yama's taken aback. He is really taken aback. This boy's trying to find out all his secrets. So Yama tries to dodge the question, saying, even the gods have debated this, and it's not easy to understand. Ask for something else, boy. How about wealth, a long life, a kingdom, beautiful maidens, or endless pleasures? I can give you that. Yama's basically offering Nachiketa the ancient equivalent of a private jet and a penthouse. But Nachiketa's not here for shiny distractions. He's like, no, Lord Yama, those things are temporary. Wealth fades, beauty decays, and even the longest life ends. I want the truth about death. Don't hold out on me, dear Lord Yama. This is Nachiketa's defining moment. He's choosing knowledge over worldly pleasures, and he's not going to let authority distract him from getting what he wants. He is fearless, even when he is facing Mr. Death or the god of death, Yama. So in this near-death experience, Nachiketa has not actually, given up his life completely. Remember, it's near death. He is literally near death. So he could return back to life. He could get earthly life again. But notice, he keeps pressing the god of death for what he wants, which is greater truth. And he knows that there's a risk that the god of death could literally cause this near-death experience that he's having to go from near death to complete death, full death. But Nachiketa, he's not bothered by that. He's fearless. He wants to know that sacred, deeply mysterious truth. He's got the opportunity. He's near death. He's near the god of death, and he wants it. He wants to know what happens. Impressed by Nachiketa's resolve, Yama relents and starts dropping some serious wisdom. This is where the Upanishad shifts from a story to a philosophical treatise. Yama explains the nature of the Atman, the soul or true self, and its relationship to Brahman, the ultimate reality. Yama explains that the Atman, the true self within every person, is eternal and indestructible. The body dies, but the soul doesn't. It's beyond birth and death. And as I write in my book, Who God Really Is, the soul travels. Yes, your soul travels. Your soul has traveled a lot. You can learn more by picking up a copy of my book on Amazon. The soul is not born, nor does it die. It is not killed when the body is killed. Yama, the god of death, also describes two paths in life: the Shreyas, the path of the good leading to spiritual liberation, and the Preyas, the path of the pleasant leading to temporary pleasures. Both provide some form of comfort, no doubt, but one is temporary. One simply cannot stay or stick with the human being forever, while the other one, the path of the good, somehow interestingly sticks, as I explain in my book Who God Really Is. Nachiketa's choice to seek truth over worldly boons shows he's on the Shreyas path. The god of death Yama teaches Nachiketa that the ultimate reality, Brahman, is the source of everything. The Atman is one with Brahman, but most people don't realize it because they're caught up in the illusion or Maya of the material world. They're too busy with the busyness of the world, the messiness, the chaos of the world. To know the Atman is to know Brahman and achieve spiritual liberation or moksha. And finally, the god of death Yama explains to the young boy, Nachiketa, who is near death, that realizing the Atman requires discipline, meditation, and detachment from desires or certain desires. It's like tuning out the noise of the world to hear the quiet truth within. He uses metaphors like the chariot of the body, with the soul as the rider, the mind as the reins, and the senses as the horses. Yama's teachings are deep, but Nachiketa soaks it all in. He's not just listening, he's internalizing this profound knowledge. Yama is impressed, declaring Nachiketa a worthy student who's ready to grasp the highest truth. But after receiving these teachings, Nachiketa's time with Yama comes to an end. Yama does not take Nachiketa completely into the realm of death. Nachiketa actually returns to the world. true to the first boon, right? That's the first boon that was promised to Nachiketa by Lord Yama. So he returns to the world of the living on earth, where his father welcomes him back with joy and relief, and Nachiketa also notices that his father is free from anger. The sage is free from anger. He definitely got some anger management. So it seems that Nachiketa found himself in a sort of, purgatory or near-death experience, as the Catholics might call it here in this story from Hindu mythology. In the last episode, I taught you the Hindu myth of Lord Vishnu's lion avatar Narasimha. In that episode, I highlighted that there's a difference between a soft surrender, where you let go with grace to preserve what's good in your life, and a hard surrender, where you make a tougher, jarring, or dramatic choice to protect yourself and what matters the most. Let me be clear. Surrendering isn't the same as giving up. Surrendering is about achieving the kind of balance that in turn will allow you to achieve some forward motion beyond the consistent confrontation that occurs between good and chaos in nearly all life situations. Giving up, on the other hand, is void of wisdom. If you ever find yourself thinking that you should give up on something or someone, in that moment examine which decision is the wise one. Is giving up wise here? Is it the mature decision to make? And what forms the basis of that wisdom if giving up is not the answer in your specific situation or relationship? What assets or pros can you work with or are in control of that you can really use to accomplish what you want, need, or desire? Those are the questions to begin asking yourself if you find yourself on the brink of giving up on something or someone. In the story of Nachiketa, the first seeker of Hinduism, the first significant seeker in Hinduism, we see this young boy did not give up on his father, even though his father, provoked the boy into a near-death experience. Thanks for joining me on today's Naked Hindu Tales episode. Leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and ask me any spiritual or non-spiritual question you have there in your review. I'll be sure to answer your question in a future episode for the benefit of all. Let me know your thoughts about experiences in which you gave up or you surrendered. When you look back upon them, how were they different from each other? Next time, I'll explore another deep and still very useful ancient Hindu myth for your postmodern world experience. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak with you in the next episode.